I took years to learn that on my own. Now I'm learning how to do this film stuff. I'm learning how to do the film stuff, and what I'm saying, filming myself and editing and all that, photos. This stuff I always want. They not, they'll teach you that, but you're gonna have to pay. You know what I mean? It's just like, so why do that when I just could just wait until the time is right and get the stuff, learn it myself.
Lord, that's how you made me in my heaven. I know I did some dirt and I ain't innocent. In isolation as I reminisce. The real reason you niggas switch. It was all about the Benjamin.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? I want to welcome everybody to the channel, back to the channel, K74. We in the building, we here. I know it's been a minute. I do it if I really got a message, and even if it could just reach one person, I'm happy with that. You know what I mean? Like, even if it just reach one person, I'm good with that. So pretty much like I was saying, in the title, so as the title say, first love tendencies. So what I mean by that, I want to get to the point of, when you're a kid, anything that was your first love, whether it was video games, whether it was your parents, whether it was music, whatever, as far as my first love, as I was sitting thinking, and, I was thinking about my first love, and it was my mom, because that's who I was raised around the most. And, who cared for me and loved me and gave me what I needed, showed me what love was and the best she knew how. And then she introduced me to the Most High and explained to me how he gets all the credit for everything. And then I realized how things work. As I was younger, I felt like my mom was the most beautiful woman in the world, inside and out. But as you get older and conditioned into this world, and you start watching TV and you start seeing beauty standards, and we're not going to act like that doesn't matter, because looks, it does matter, like, when it comes to physical, because I can see a female that doesn't have the, curves as another female might have. Physically, I could say me, I know that attracts me. That's going to get me aroused, no problem. You know what I'm saying? If it's I'm dealing with a female that has that type of physique, pretty face, everything, versus somebody that doesn't. Because why? Because that's attracts me. That does look good to the flesh, and but at the same time, the person character can be the wrong character, a nasty attitude and things like that, pretty privileged attitude where people feel like, the world is supposed to stop for them because of their looks or whatever, the attention they get from their looks. But one thing that I learned about being out here in this world is that, like, looks don't pay the bills, you know what I mean? And unless that's your profession, if you're doing modeling, things like that, where, your looks is what you're counting on. But I mean, like, I'm talking about the average person, looks don't pay the bills, because 9 times out of 10, you're gonna have to get a job, no matter how pretty you are or whatever, how bad your body is, just a regular average person like me. With that being said, character is what really matters. So, sticking to the topic, my mom's, as I got older, I started to, see the flaws that she had, which was some markings on her face, and so as I got old enough, I asked, like, yo, what happened to your face? And, her and my dad, they pretty much told me the story 1,000 times that, when they was young in the Bronx, that somebody was going to rape and rob, possibly kill my mom. I don't know. But before my dad came to her rescue, she actually got hit with a bottle, in her face. So that's, you know, she told me and explained the story to me along with my dad. So with that being said, it's like the point I'm trying to make is that as a kid, as a child, just seeing through innocent eyes, you don't see any of that. Like you don't, because it took me to get in, you know, old enough to start knowing the difference of what people call flaws, and oh, you know, scars are wrong, and you know, everything got to be perfect, like, you know. And so that's when I started, you know, asking questions like that. But other than that, before then, I never cared about that. You know what I mean? Nobody, like, because I just seen her as my first love. My mom's that loved me, I loved her. It didn't matter how she looked. If your parents treating you right, nobody, like, my parent could be 500 pounds. You know what I'm saying? Like, it wouldn't matter. You know what I mean? And, you know, that goes back to, you know, me having this dog, me having 8 right here. You know what I mean? A lot of people say, you know, it's just a dog and stuff like that. That's people mentality, you know. But, you know, I see it as, you know, Most High gave us dominion over these animals for a reason, you know, and this is his creation. And no matter what dog it is, you know, yeah, this happened to be one of my favorite breeds. And it's so beautiful to me. Like, it's a beautiful breed to where I look at her and I be like, yo, the Most High, like, I thank him for it. You know what I mean? Because, like, it's his creation. So I say that to say this. It's like, true love don't see any, like, anything, like, when it comes to the physical or whatever. If you got breath, you know what I mean, and you and my kid, and I know that the Most High, my creator, you know, had a hand in making you, trust me, you know what I'm saying, like, I'm going to treat you with, you know, if you and my kid, like, you got to get taken care of. You know what I mean? No matter what, you're a human, animal, I'm not, it doesn't matter to me. You know what I mean? Like, if you with me and you down for me, was dogs show you that loyalty. But yeah, they get a bad rep because of the attacks and stuff like that. But I feel like if you training your dog the way it's supposed to be, then, you know, it would show, the results would show, and it'll be very rewarding. You know what I mean? But, you know, but I can say through my observation, I can say the same thing about people, that they unpredictable. You know what I mean? They're dangerous. If I'm going by the stories of human nature, but the only difference is, you know, with a dog is, you know what I mean, whatever you get what you see pretty much. Like, they not, you know, you don't have to deal with manipulation with a dog, or lying, or, you know, trying to fit in, see if they want to fit in. Like, a dog won't do any of that stuff to you, you know what I mean? But I can't say the same thing about humans, you know what I mean? So that's why I say, to me, it's like, yo, it doesn't matter. You know, if you there for me, man, and I can help you in any way, and just be there for you, you know what I mean? And I'm not doing it off of your looks. I'm not doing it off of your status. The Most High, you know, it's just something that I believe in. You know what I mean? Like, just it's embedded in me. And like I said, I just wanted to put this message out, you know, just to reach one person. Like, you know, that's I'm happy if I just reach one person. You know, because like I said, I'm not doing this for clout. You know, I'm just doing this because, you know, it's something that I thought of, and I'm just like, yo, you know what? Let me put this out there. Maybe somebody might need to hear this, or, you know, just a new point of view, you know. And you know, I'm just pretty much saying, like, you know, when you know, just look at it before you get into this world and you start getting plugged in. Like, think about it. Like, you don't see any of that. You know, when you at home with your family, like, you don't care how they look. Like, you know, y'all just know y'all laughing together, y'all eating together, y'all crying together. Like, you know what I mean? So that's how you build that real bond. You know, and I feel like, you know, all that other stuff, trying to, you know, we in the era now with social media, and everybody does want to look their best and all that. And I'm not knocking any of that. But, you know, if I want to look my best, it's just something that maybe that day I want to do that for me. When I just to make myself smile. You know what I mean? I could care less what anybody else is saying. You feel me? Just to show myself, like, yo, you still got it, bro. Been around to where I noticed that people that's secure about themselves financially and everything else overall, they tend to kind of like want to be under the radar. You know what I mean? They're not really out there like that. Their mindset is totally different. You know what I mean? Like, they not trying to be flashy. That made me think of like all the years that I was feeding into that stuff. Being egotistical and everything like that, when I really never had to, man, because my strengths is not in that. And I had to learn a lot just winging it, because I didn't go the school route. I didn't go that school route. I went a different route, and I knew even at that age that what I was signing up for. So at the end of the day, it's just that wasn't for me. That's I just felt like it wasn't for me, for the simple fact the stuff I wanted to learn, they wasn't teaching. You feel me? So, but I'm thankful for the internet and YouTube University, because I now know the things that I always wanted to learn my whole life. And that was just how to get certain music sound and how it sound on the radio. That's simply sound engineering, and make and I took years to learn that on my own. Now I'm learning how to do this film stuff. I'm learning how to do the film stuff, and what I'm saying, filming myself and editing and all that, photos, just stuff I always want. They'll teach you that, but you're gonna have to pay. You know what I mean? It's just like, so why do that when I could just wait until the time is right and get the stuff, learn it myself. You know what I mean? Because if you really want to learn something, like, you gonna learn it. You know what I mean? But the stuff they was teaching is like, it was like you was forcing me to learn something I don't care for. So that's how I always just felt about school. But I'm not knocking anybody, because it's people that love stuff that they want to know that they can only learn in school. So that I'm not knocking. So if that's you, salute to you. Get whatever that you want to get. You know what I mean? I'm not knocking school. And and I want to say that because I'm not encouraging anybody to take my route. You know what I mean? Because this route is not for everybody. It's a hard route, and I've seen it break a lot of people. So, I'm not encouraging anybody to, but I felt that, you know what? I'd rather deal with whatever I got to deal with than sit and deal with people that I really don't relate to. You know what I mean? Like, at all. So, at the end of the day, it's like, that's just something that I had to come to the conclusion with. Because and that's just because, I just had that strong faith in the Most High, and just, the family that I was raised around just taught me so much, because they actually did go through those doors, school, college, and so for example, like, I know people who went to school for business and got their degree, but they never got a business. They was working. Yeah, so they went to school and they never had a business, and and they went to school for maybe, anything. Seeing those type of things and just hearing them endless stories of people saying, yo, I went to school and it seemed like it was for nothing. I always was like, I don't never want to go through that. I never want to. I never want to do something, and then it's like you're doing something, thinking that, this is the best thing for you, and never really works out. And that's just how life is when you're doing stuff independent and learning things independent that you're really passionate about, and you're going to make sure you got whatever you're seeking, whatever outcome you're seeking, to put all that time in to learn these things. I feel like you'll get it. You'll get that outcome. You serious, and you self-teach yourself these things. You know, and that's the beauty of today is that you can learn from school and online. So, you know, there's so much information out there. But with that being said, you know, I don't want to hold you guys up too long. I'm about to feed this big baby, and you know, enjoy the rest of this Friday afternoon. I just hope everybody out there is staying hydrated in this heat, especially, you know, if you're in NYC area. Stay safe because, you know, we dealing with that air pollution right now with the fires. So, you know, I just advise everybody to stay safe, wear masks if you're in them highly polluted areas. With that being said, I'm not gonna hold you guys up. Y'all do what it do. Y'all know what it is. K74. We out.